Winter is about to flip a massive switch, and when it flips, everything changes. If you thought the weather was active before, you haven't seen anything yet. 4 simultaneous weather emergencies are unfolding right now across America, and they're all about to converge into something meteorologists are calling historic. Here's the number that should make you stop what you're doing. 101 miles per hour. That's the wind gust recorded in Montana last night from this storm system. 101. That's stronger than many hurricanes. And that same storm is barreling toward the Midwest right now with 50 to 70 mile per hour winds expected across a massive area. But that's just the beginning. By Thursday morning, wind chills are going to drop to negative 50 degrees across the upper Midwest. By Sunday, actual temperatures, not wind chill, actual air temperature, could hit negative 24 degrees in Minnesota. And on the complete opposite side of the country, the Pacific Northwest is dealing with up to 10 inches of rain in a historic atmospheric river that's already triggering water rescues. In 30 seconds, I'm going to reveal the one phenomenon that makes this storm more dangerous than the snow totals suggest. It's called a flash freeze, and it's already claimed lives this winter. And at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, I'll show you the exact timeline of when this invisible killer strikes and which cities are in the bullseye. Let's start with what's happening right this second, because this is not a forecast for tomorrow. This is happening now, and it's intensifying faster than models predicted. A potent winter storm is carving a path through the upper Midwest at this exact moment, and it's bringing something meteorologists call a trifecta of dangerous hazards. 3 separate deadly threats, all happening at once, all feeding off each other, all making the situation exponentially worse. Threat number 1. Freezing rain, not snow, freezing rain. And we're not talking about a light glaze. Some locations are going to see up to a 1/4 inch of ice accumulation. A 1/4 inch might not sound like much, but let me tell you what that means. Power lines snap under that weight, tree branches come crashing down, roads become skating rinks, and the power goes out. In December, when it's below zero, that's a life-threatening situation. Threat number 2, heavy snow. But here's the twist. The snow totals aren't the story. Most places are only going to see 4 to 8 inches, some areas just 1 to 2 inches. So why is this so dangerous? Because of how fast it's falling. 2 inches per hour. That means in the time it takes you to drive home from work, 6 inches could be on the ground. Plows can't keep up. Visibility drops to 0. And accidents pile up. Threat number 3, the winds. This is where it gets truly dangerous. We're looking at potentially hurricane-force wind gusts in the northern plains. Average sustained winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Some areas could see gusts up to 70 miles per hour. Remember that 101 mile per hour gust in Montana? That's what this storm is capable of. And it's heading east. Now here's where these 3 threats combine into something worse than the sum of their parts. The freezing rain coats everything in ice. Then the heavy snow falls on top of that ice. Then the winds hit. Trees that might have survived ice or wind alone can't survive both. Power lines that might have held under ice collapse when the wind hits. And roads that were just slippery become completely impassable when blowing snow creates whiteout conditions on top of the ice. Right now, at 1 p.m. today, rain is switching over to snow in Fargo and Grand Forks. But look at the radar. All that pink and orange in the middle. That's sleet and freezing rain. That's the ice accumulation zone. And it's significant. We're talking about a decent icing potential that's going to lead to very slick travel and intermittent power outages. By 5 p.m. tonight, here's what happens. A big heavy burst of snow is going to slam into Minneapolis and Duluth. And remember, this storm is moving fast, really fast. The snow isn't going to be exceptionally heavy by upper Midwest standards. You've seen it snow harder. But the accumulation rate is what matters. 2 inches per hour in some places. And here's the kicker. It starts as rain in Minneapolis. Rain. December rain. And then by midnight tonight, temperatures drop into the 20s and teens. Everything that's wet freezes. Instantly. Every road. Every sidewalk. Every parking lot. Every surface. This is a flash freeze event. And it's one of the most dangerous weather phenomena that exists. At the 5-minute mark, I promised you something critical. Here it is. Why flash freeze events kill more people than you think. Most people understand snow is dangerous. They drive slowly, they're cautious. But rain? Rain in December doesn't trigger the same alarm bells. People drive normal speeds in the rain. They're not worried. And then, without warning, that rain becomes ice. In minutes, sometimes in seconds, as the temperature plunges. You're driving 55 miles per hour on wet pavement. It's raining. Visibility is fine. And then you hit a patch of road where the temperature just dropped below freezing. That wet pavement is now black ice. You can't see it. It looks exactly like wet pavement. You hit the brakes. Nothing happens. You're sliding. Out of control. And there's nothing you can do. This is what's going to happen tonight in Minneapolis and across the upper Midwest. People are going to be driving home from work in rain, maybe sleet, and by the time they get home, or maybe while they're still on the road, that rain is going to freeze. Roads are going to become sheets of ice. And tomorrow morning, even if it's not snowing anymore, even if the sky is clear, every road is going to be treacherous. This is why flash freeze events are so deadly, because they catch people completely off guard. Because the danger isn't obvious. Because by the time you realize the roads are icy, you're already in a ditch, or you've already hit something. Tonight, Minneapolis, Duluth, Fargo, Grand Forks, Green Bay, all of you, when you leave work, when you leave dinner, when you leave wherever you are, assume the roads are ice. Doesn't matter if it's still raining. Doesn't matter if you can see pavement. Assume ice. Drive like your life depends on it. Because it does. Tomorrow morning at 2 a.m., the storm moves east. Heavy snow hits Detroit. Intermittent heavy snow in Cleveland. Heavy snow in Toronto, Buffalo, and New York. The heaviest snow is likely around 10 a.m. tomorrow in those areas. And then by tomorrow afternoon and evening, heavy snow spreads across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But here's what happens next that most forecasts aren't talking about. After the low-pressure system moves off to the east, the lake effect machines get turned on. Decent bands of snow are going to come off the Great Lakes, especially in Michigan. And by the time this is all said and done, a couple places in Michigan are going to have very significant snow amounts. We're talking about the potential for over a foot in some locations just from lake effect alone. And then there's the snow squall outbreak. Tomorrow afternoon and evening, the Ohio Valley is going to get hammered with blinding snow squalls. Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and especially West Virginia right up against those mountains. These aren't regular snow showers. Snow squalls are intense bursts of heavy snow with winds that can gust over 40 miles per hour. They create instant whiteout conditions, zero visibility, multi-vehicle pileups, and they're extremely dangerous because they're so localized and so sudden. You could be driving on a clear highway, sun might even be out, and then you enter a snow squall. Suddenly you can't see anything. Whiteout. Complete whiteout. And if you're going highway speed when you hit that snow squall, you're in serious danger. Don't miss what I'm about to tell you next. Because while this storm is the immediate threat, what comes after it is even more extreme. The massive switch I mentioned at the beginning. Winter is about to go from active to absolutely brutal. Let me show you the temperatures. The actual numbers. Because these aren't typical December cold snaps. These are historic, record-breaking, life-threatening temperatures. Thursday morning. As early as Thursday morning, we're talking about bitter cold temperatures all the way down into Kentucky. Mid-20s in Kentucky. Upper teens in Pennsylvania. Low teens down to 10 degrees in upstate New York. Much of Michigan will be in the teens. And over in Wisconsin and Minnesota, we're looking at -5 to -15 degrees potentially near Minneapolis early Thursday morning. And I want you to remember something critical. That's without the wind. Those are actual air temperatures. Now add the wind. Because around this time, we're also going to have 20 to 40 mile per hour winds on top of these temperatures. That brings wind chills down to -50 in some places. -50 degrees. Let me tell you what that means. Exposed skin can freeze in under 5 minutes. Under 5 minutes. You walk outside to get your mail. You slip on ice. You can't get up immediately. 5 minutes later you have frostbite. That's how dangerous this cold is. This is life-threatening cold on Thursday morning. Not an exaggeration, not hyperbole. Genuinely life-threatening. Frostbite in minutes. Hypothermia in minutes if you're not properly dressed. Car batteries dying. Pipes freezing and bursting. This is the kind of cold that kills people who aren't prepared. Friday. Does it get better on Friday? It does actually get a little bit better. The wind dies down. Temperatures moderate slightly. You might think the worst is over. You'd be wrong. Check this out. Another big area of cold air is locked and loaded. It's descending on the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and even the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region as we go into Sunday. This is the second punch. The knockout punch. Sunday morning, your actual surface temperature in northern portions of Minnesota might be -24 degrees. -24. That is insanely cold. It could be -10 in Davenport, Iowa. It could be below zero in Indianapolis. And that's not the wind chill. That's the real actual temperature. The cold air is just going to continue to dip south. This is a pattern we're stuck in for a while. Check this out. Below freezing temperatures making it all the way down to the Gulf Coast on Monday morning. The Gulf Coast, below freezing. That's how far south this Arctic air is going to penetrate. We're going to get a little bit of a break probably at the beginning of next week. Temperatures will moderate slightly, but the overall cold pattern just continues to stick around. We cannot shake this pattern, especially for the northern tier of the United States. This is the new normal for the next several weeks. Cold, persistent cold, unrelenting cold. And the snow keeps coming. While all of this is happening in the north and east, while we're tracking this series of clippers and all this cold air, the complete opposite is happening on the west coast, and it's equally dangerous. Maybe even more dangerous. A historic atmospheric river is battering the Pacific Northwest. We've got a ton of warm air getting funneled up against the Cascades in the western United States. This is causing massive flooding problems and snow in the higher elevations. This morning, water rescues are already happening in Oregon as a result of excessive rainfall. The bullseye is western Washington, Oregon, and the Idaho Panhandle. And let me be very clear about something. This isn't just your standard winter rain. This is one of those rare and statistically historic storms that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. If you're not prepared yet, the worst of it is hitting tonight into tomorrow. You need to be ready right now for mudslides, for avalanches. Avalanches are a huge problem. We're getting snow melt at high elevations because the warm air is going higher than it normally does this time of year. On top of that, you add 4 to 8 inches of rain in some places. Some places could see up to 10 inches of rain. And it is just a mess in the Pacific Northwest. If you live near a river or a burn scar in the Pacific Northwest, have a go bag ready. Conditions can change rapidly. Rock slides are a very real danger right now. Not a theoretical danger, not a maybe. A very real, happening right now danger. Water rescues are already underway. Rivers are already flooding. Mudslides are already happening. 4 to 10 inches of rain. Let that sink in. In terrain that's already saturated from previous storms. In areas where wildfires have destroyed vegetation and destabilized hillsides. In watersheds where rapid snowmelt is adding to the water volume. This is a recipe for catastrophic flooding and mudslides. And it's happening in waves. We're in the thick of it right now. The heaviest precipitation will probably start to taper off Thursday afternoon. Then we should get a little bit of a break. Should, but here's the problem. The pattern is locked in. Looking ahead, the pattern is going to continue locking into a classic winter configuration all the way through mid-December. It looks like we're going to stay cold in the east, warm in the west. No significant changes in the near future. Keep the jacket ready if you're in the east. Keep enjoying the warm temperatures if you're in the southwest. But understand what this means. As this ridge stays in place over the west, as this trough stays in place over the east, we will see more atmospheric river events likely hitting the top of that ridge in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. This isn't the last one. This is just the current one. More are coming. The Pacific Northwest needs to be ready for a very active and very wet pattern for the foreseeable future. Now, let me tell you about the snow accumulation from this current storm, because the numbers might not seem impressive at first glance. But context matters. Impact matters. And this storm is going to have major impacts even with relatively modest snow totals. Northern Minnesota may get 6 inches of snow. That's not insignificant, but it's not terribly significant either by Minnesota standards. Wisconsin, a couple places might see 6 inches. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan will see a broad 4 to 8 inches of snow. Lower Michigan, a couple places will likely see over 6 inches as well, and this doesn't even include the lake effect snow in southern Lower Michigan. There might be a couple places that see significant snow from lake effect on top of the main storm. In the interior Northeast, it's really hit or miss. Widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow is possible with a couple pockets where we see more than 6 inches. Especially where we get lake effect near Watertown. There are a couple pockets where 13 inches is possible. So on paper, these aren't huge numbers. But remember what I said earlier. It's not about the total. It's about the rate, 2 inches per hour. It's about the wind, 50 to 70 mile per hour gusts. It's about the ice, quarter-inch accumulation in some spots. And it's about the flash freeze, everything wet turning to ice in a matter of hours. This is why snow accumulation totals don't tell the whole story. You can have a storm that drops 20 inches of snow slowly over 2 days with light winds. That's manageable. You can handle that. Or you can have a storm that drops 6 inches in 3 hours with 60 mile per hour winds on top of ice. That's a disaster. That's dangerous. That's what we're dealing with. Let me tell you about Wednesday morning in Iowa. Because this is where the storm truly shows its power. Widespread 40 to 60 mile per hour winds across the entire state. 40 to 60. That's sustained winds, not just gusts. And with snow on the ground from previous storms, this creates something we've talked about before: ground blizzards. The wind picks up existing snow off the ground and whips it into the air. Suddenly, you have whiteout conditions without a single snowflake falling from the sky. Zero visibility. And it happens in areas where people aren't expecting it. You're driving through Iowa on a clear morning and boom, you're in a whiteout. You can't see. You're in danger. And as that strong wind continues to dive south into the Ohio Valley, we're looking at widespread 20 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts during those snow squalls I mentioned. Wind plus heavy snow equals disaster. Just a really interesting and dynamic storm system diving into the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and Northeast area. And once again, the snow is not the main story. Let me repeat that because it's important. The snow is not the main story. The wind is the main story. The ice is the main story. The flash freeze is the main story. The rapid temperature drop is the main story. The snow is just one component of a much larger, much more dangerous weather event. Now let me address something that people always ask during events like this. How do we know this is really going to be as bad as you're saying? What evidence do we have? Let me show you. Montana. Last night. 101 mile per hour wind gust associated with this storm system. 101. That's not a forecast. That's not a model. That's an actual measurement. That already happened. This storm has already proven what it's capable of. And it's moving east into more populated areas. The atmospheric river in the Pacific Northwest. Water rescue's already happening this morning in Oregon. That's not a forecast. That's happening right now. Rivers are already flooding. People are already being rescued. The danger is real and it's current. The geomagnetic storm that's hitting Earth today into tonight. That's already underway. The solar wind is already impacting our magnetic field. Now, the unfortunate thing about the aurora viewing opportunity is that pretty much everywhere you could potentially see the aurora is going to be completely covered with clouds and rain. Washington, Maine, northern portions of Minnesota. These are the places where during a G3 storm you might be able to see the auroras, but we're dealing with snow and cloud cover. So, viewing opportunities are going to be limited. But just know that space weather is happening over the next 48 hours on top of everything else. 4 simultaneous events. Winter storm in the Midwest and Northeast. Historic atmospheric river in the Pacific Northwest. Record-breaking Arctic blast building for the weekend. Geomagnetic storm from the sun, all happening at the same time, all impacting different parts of the country, all creating their own unique dangers. Let me give you the action plan. The specific steps you need to take based on where you are and what's headed your way. If you're in the upper Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, your immediate threat is tonight. The storm is hitting right now. If you haven't already, get home early. Stock up on supplies, prepare for power outages, have backup heat, have flashlights and batteries, have food and water. Because if the power goes out tonight when it's below zero, you need to be self-sufficient. Travel tonight is going to be extremely dangerous. If you can avoid it, stay home. If you must travel, drive slowly, extremely slowly. Half your normal speed at minimum, increase following distance. And most importantly, be prepared for the flash freeze. What's wet now will be ice in a few hours. Plan accordingly. If you're in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New England, your main threat is tomorrow. Heavy snow in the morning and afternoon. Snow squalls creating sudden whiteout conditions, and then the lake effect kicks in. Be prepared for rapid changes in conditions. What's clear one moment could be a whiteout the next. Have emergency supplies in your vehicle. Blankets, water, snacks, phone charger. If you get stuck, You need to survive until help arrives. If you're in the Ohio Valley, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, watch out for those snow squalls tomorrow afternoon and evening. They're going to be intense. They're going to create zero visibility, and they're going to cause accidents. If you see a snow squall approaching, pull over. Do not try to drive through it. Wait it out. Your life is worth more than arriving on time. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, your threat is ongoing and increasing. Tonight into tomorrow is the worst of the atmospheric river. 4 to 10 inches of rain. Flooding guaranteed. Mudslides likely. Rock slides possible. If you live near water, near a burn scar, on a steep slope, have an evacuation plan ready. Have a go bag packed. Be ready to leave on short notice. Do not wait until you're told to evacuate. By then it might be too late. For everyone in the northern tier states, the Arctic blast is coming. Thursday morning first punch. Sunday morning knockout punch. Here's how you prepare. 1. Winterize your home now, not tomorrow. Now. Let faucets drip when temperatures drop below zero. Open cabinet doors under sinks. Know where your water main shutoff is. Because pipes are going to freeze. And when pipes freeze, they burst. And when they burst at -20 degrees, you have a nightmare on your hands. 2. Check your heating system. Change your furnace filter. Have backup heat if possible. Fireplace, wood stove, space heater. But if you use a space heater, keep it away from flammable materials. And never use outdoor heating equipment inside. Carbon monoxide kills. 3. Prepare your vehicle. Battery test. Antifreeze check. Keep your gas tank at least half full. Have an emergency kit. Because in -50 wind chill, a car breakdown isn't just an inconvenience. It's a life-threatening emergency. 4. Stock up. 3 days minimum of food and water, more if you can. Not because you'll be trapped for 3 days, but because if something goes wrong, if power goes out, if your car won't start, you need to be able to shelter in place. 5. Check on vulnerable people, elderly neighbors, people who live alone, anyone with medical conditions. Make sure they're prepared. Make sure they have heat, food, medicine. Make sure someone is checking on them during the cold snap. 6. Know the signs of cold weather emergencies. Frostbite starts with numbness and pale skin. Hypothermia starts with shivering, then confusion and slurred speech. If you see these signs, get inside immediately and seek medical help. These are medical emergencies. 7. Dress in layers if you must go outside. Cover all exposed skin. At -50 wind chill, skin freezes in under 5 minutes. That's not a lot of time. Respect the cold. Now let me tell you what's coming after this. Because the pattern is locked in and we need to look ahead. The classic winter configuration that's setting up is going to persist through mid-December at least. Cold in the east, warm in the west. This isn't changing anytime soon, which means more clippers, more snow events, more Arctic blasts, more atmospheric rivers in the Pacific Northwest. This is the new normal for the next several weeks minimum. Right before Christmas, things might shift. Might. The models are showing some uncertainty. But for now, plan on sustained cold and active weather through at least December 15th, maybe longer. The Northeast in particular is going to stay locked in the freezer. No warm-ups on the horizon, just cold, day after day, week after week. And here's what most long-range forecasts aren't telling you. When you get a pattern this locked in, this persistent, it often extends well beyond what the models initially suggest. We could be looking at a winter that stays cold and active all the way through January and into February. This isn't just a December thing. This could be the entire winter. For snow lovers, for winter weather enthusiasts, this is your season. This is what you've been waiting for. But for everyone else, for people who just want to get through winter safely, this is going to be challenging. This is going to require preparation, patience, and respect for the weather. Let me recap the critical information one more time, because in weather emergencies, repetition saves lives. Tonight, winter storm hitting upper Midwest, freezing rain, heavy snow, strong winds, flash freeze tonight as temperatures drop, extremely dangerous travel. Tomorrow, storm moves east, heavy snow Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Northeast, snow squalls in Ohio Valley. Lake effect kicks in Great Lakes, sudden whiteouts possible. Thursday morning, first Arctic blast, -15 actual temps, -50 wind chills, life-threatening cold, Frostbite in under 5 minutes. Sunday morning. Second Arctic blast. -24 actual temps possible. Even colder than Thursday. Extreme danger. Ongoing. Historic atmospheric river Pacific Northwest. 4 to 10 inches rain. Flooding, mudslides, rock slides. Water rescues already happening. Pattern. Locked in through mid-December minimum. Cold east, warm west. More storms coming. More cold coming. No end in sight. This is the massive switch. From active to extreme. From concerning to dangerous. From winter weather to winter warfare. And it's happening right now. Here's what you need to know about the next forecast update. Because things are going to continue evolving. The pattern might shift. New storms might develop. The Arctic air might push even farther south than currently forecast. In the next update, I'm going to show you the Christmas week forecast. What are the chances of a white Christmas? What are the chances of a major storm right before the holiday? What does the pattern look like for travel during the busiest travel week of the year? I'm also going to show you the January outlook. If this pattern persists, if the cold stays locked in, what does that mean for the rest of winter? Are we looking at a season that rivals some of the coldest, snowiest winters on record? The early indications are yes, and I'll break down exactly what that means. Plus, I'll have updates on any new storms developing, because in a pattern this active, storms can spin up quickly. What looks quiet today could be a major event in 3 days. You need to stay informed. That's all coming in the next forecast, and you need to see it, because what's happening this week is just the opening chapter. The massive switch has been flipped. Winter is here, real winter. The kind that demands respect. The kind that can kill if you're not prepared. So here's what you do right now. Finalize all preparations. Everything I've told you to do it now, not later, now. Because the storm is already here. The cold is already building. The atmospheric river is already flooding the Pacific Northwest. These aren't future events. They're happening. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay informed. And remember, winter weather is serious business. It's not something to take lightly. It's not something to ignore. People die every winter from these conditions. Don't be a statistic. The massive switch has been flipped. Are you ready? Because ready or not, winter is here with a vengeance, and it's not leaving anytime soon.